Okay, we start off. Yeah. Okay, so for population geography, the first theme we have taken up is population distribution, and in that we have discussed factors, and factors we have said there are physical factors and there are human factors. Physical factors, climate, terrain, the presence or absence of water, what type of soil do we have. Okay, the physical factors are always the natural factors, and human factors is what we do. Our policies, our development, urbanization, development. We're talking about, there are deliberate policies, there are conflicts, we have trade, and with trade we can have migrations. There's a long list, which are not always because of the physical factors. So I gave an example to all of you. If you look at how the African population has spread across the world. So that's Africa, and that's South America, from Africa, populations have come here, they have come here, they have come here. Okay, there is a shift of people towards the Western Hemisphere, and we also know that from parts of Europe here, from Europe, people have come here. Okay, from Europe, people have come to South Africa. So the distribution is not always a function of the resources and the local climatic conditions. They're also because of migration. And in the same way, I'll discuss afterwards, abhi kiya nahi maine, the lot of Indian population from India, we find people have come here, people have come here, Indians have also come here, Indians have gone towards Southeast Asia. Okay, so the distribution also depends on how people move. And this we can see in case of distribution of population within India also. Inside India, if you look at how people have moved. Okay, so that's UP and Bihar and Bengal. Okay, that's Maharashtra, that's Telangana. We find a lot of people from Telangana into Maharashtra, from Karnataka into Maharashtra. We find people of Odisha into Gujarat, Odisha into Kerala. People from UP and Bihar have come here. They have come towards Gujarat. So migration is a very important factor in how people get distributed. And migration can be because of the pull of urban areas. So migration as a factor migration can be because of urbanization. Migrations can be because of conflicts. Migration can also be because of poverty in the rural areas. Migrations can also be because of human trafficking. It's illegal smuggling of people, women, children, cheap labor can be forced to migrate. Okay, so human trafficking, which in the older times also referred to as slave trade. Okay, ये illegal trafficking hai. So these are also important factors in how people get distributed. Okay, and we said migration, this operates at global levels. It also operates in regional scales, can also operate at local scales. So local, from one village to another village. Okay, from villages of UP to cities like Varanasi or Lucknow or Delhi, the villages of Bengal, say Calcutta maybe. So is a very important factor in how people get distributed. Okay, add this in your points, all of you. Yeah, a lot of reasons. I'll come back to migration again, but remember that this is also important factor. So I believe no points for doubts here. All good here, all of you? Yeah, online, is it okay, all of you? Yeah, marriage hai, employment hai, education can be a factor. Okay, trading, people trade. If you look at the population of good parts of Central Asia, is also because of those factors. I said because of poverty in rural areas, typical rural to urban migration. Yes, so because of urbanization, so migration to urban areas, and this need not always be because of poverty. I live in Delhi, I can go to Bombay maybe because of a job, and it's not poverty always. Okay, maybe I live in parts of some region, I'm not a poor man, but I can migrate because of education. Yes, okay. Okay, so urbanization in general, conflicts, urbanization, I said because of better opportunities, and it need not be poverty. An IT professional who goes from India to US, it is not because of poverty, it's because of better opportunities. ये तो poverty है, is how they are different. This is a poverty induced. If I do not migrate, I'll die of hunger. If I don't migrate, I'll have extreme poverty. ये poverty वाला है, and this is because of better opportunities for development. Conflicts, when war hoga, तो people will move out, right? Aman, what's the big deal here? Because of conflicts, the out migrations from Central Asia, Afghanistan, out migrations from parts of now Middle East, Gaza, Israel, Yemen, okay, parts of Ukraine, yes. So conflicts can force people to move, and that results in lot of redistribution. World War I के time में, World War II के time में, the Europe's population had got redistributed. So I'm not entering migration in detail, just know these points, ये भी important है. Okay, I think we move on now. The second discussion was, what is the pattern of population distribution? So I know the factors for distribution. Now what are the patterns of distribution? So patterns, I said, we can talk in terms of hemisphere, we can talk in terms of latitudes, we can talk in terms of continents, right? Hemisphere, we have a north-south pattern. Latitude, the low latitudes have more people. If I move towards the Arctic regions, polar regions, the people are lesser. We have got good population up to tropics and subtropics, okay? Then continents. So we talked about the population of Asia, of Africa, of North America, of Europe, okay, which are significant. Australia, details hain, but not as significant, so I leave it. So in Asia, I said more than 60%. In Africa, 15, 17%. North America, I said 12, 13%. यहाँ पर भी 10, 12%. But Europe is now declining. I gave some data here. Okay, fine. So that's about the continent. यहाँ तक किया था हम लोगों ने? Any doubts you have? Any questions here? Okay, let's move on then. So now we'll talk about the patterns in terms of regional distribution. Regional distribution. So now I will make reference to specific locations. Okay, reference specific locations. Some parts of Earth have more population and some parts have less population. So what I'll do here is, I'll divide the population under three heads. Okay, what are the primary pockets? What are the primary pockets? What are the secondary regions? And what are the tertiary and very less density regions. Primary pockets where we have most of the population. Primary pockets where we have most of the world's population. Okay. So there are 5, 6 of them. One, of course, is East Asia. East Asia is China, Japan, the Koreas. East Asia is a very large pocket. If I add up this, again it is more than 25% of the world's population. More than 1/4. China, Japan, and the Koreas. More than 25% of the world's population. And this population also has a high amounts of development. Okay. This population is more urbanized. And again, China is part of an old world, old civilizations hai yahan par. East Asia is one large pocket. Okay. The second important pocket is South Asia. Again, it has more than 25% of the world's population. That is India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Okay. Large pop. But यहाँ पर difference ये है कि this is mostly rural population. It has relatively higher proportions of poverty. Rural population. East Asia mein you have got more urban population. Okay. And in South Asia we have more of rural. In East Asia, the main populations are where? The main population, इसमें आप add कर सकते हो. We have the Huanghe region, the Yellow River region. We have east coast of China. East coast of China. We have the island of Honshu, the largest island of Japan. Okay. The Huanghe Basin, the Yellow River Basin has population. East China, okay, which is Shanghai, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, Macau, the eastern part of China. Okay. And Honshu Island, Honshu Island, Honshu, Honshu Island. Anybody knows what is the population of Delhi NCR? Any idea? Delhi, kya, give me a number. What is the population of Delhi? Okay, so yes, you're right. The figure varies because when we say Delhi, we do not mean the administrative boundaries of Delhi. Okay, this is Delhi. This is the administration boundary of Delhi. Okay. Beyond this, we have Gurgaon. Beyond this, we have Noida. Beyond this, we have Ghaziabad. Okay. So there's a larger area called as Delhi NCR. Okay. Now, when you calculate a city's population, you don't see this. You see a bigger area, which may or may not be coterminous with this. Like it all depends on, see, the boundary can be a legal concept. Legal concept, no problem. This is the boundary I've drawn. There's a boundary of India and China. It's a legal boundary. Say Karnataka and Maharashtra, that's a legal boundary. But then when I say, what is the influence of, say, Delhi? Influence is an economic concept. Influence can be a social concept. Okay. So this is a kind of a boundary. This is a planning boundary called as NCR boundary. This is the city's urban legal boundary where the municipality of Delhi has some control. But when economists and geographers, when they find Delhi's boundary, their boundary could be this one. Okay. That's why different people can draw the boundaries differently. Isme, there's no convergence here. But just know, if I look at the Delhi's population, it can vary. Some can say 20 million, 10 million, 15 million, 5 million, vary. But when we use the word mega city, these cities generally have population of more than 10 million. So by that standards we say, okay, that Delhi's population is about 15 million population, 1.5, okay, approximately. Though I've seen texts that say 18 million also, okay. So 1.5, 1.8 CR, okay. ठीक है, maybe bit generous, say 20 million, so 2 CR. That is Delhi's population, and Delhi is the largest one in India. Tokyo ka any number you have can think of? How many people live in Tokyo? Any number here? Okay. Yeah, Tokyo has 35 million. One of the largest cities, Tokyo, has more than 35 million population. And there is a belt, there's a belt of urbanization that includes Tokyo, Yokohama, Nagoya, we have Osaka, Kobe. Okay, there's a belt of, this is the island of Honshu. Okay, ऐसे एक belt है, continuous urbanization का belt है. This belt alone has more than 80 million population. Okay, it's telling you 80 million, 80. The population of UP is 200 million approximately. Okay, you can think of almost more than one, okay, so almost half is this belt of population in Honshu. Pura Australia is 40 million, Pura Australia. Okay, and this belt alone in Japan has 80 million population. Okay? To give an idea that how important this island is. This island में अलग-अलग जगह है. One of the most populated regions of Honshu is a region called as Kwanto Plains. Kwanto Plains includes Tokyo. Kwanto Plains of Honshu are among the most dense population regions of the world. Okay, it includes Tokyo and its port called as, anybody knows what's the port of Tokyo? Yokohama. Tokyo, Yokohama. Yes. Okay. So, देखो, in geography we encourage this. How do I know a geography student का background है या नहीं है? If a student can mention places, names, some detailing, some facts, then it looks like geography. Otherwise, इसमें कौन सा बड़ा rocket science है? पर जहाँ urbanization है, we have more people, no urbanization, no people. Story finished. Where we have got river, more people, less water, no people. It's over. So how do you bring out the discussion element? It's through some data, facts, examples, names of places, and so on. Okay? So remember this. So East China, I said, the eastern coast of China. I'm sure you heard about a group of people called as the Han Chinese, H-A-N, Han. If you look at China's map, कुछ ऐसे है map, like this. This is China approximately. This part of China is called as Manchuria. Okay, this part is the coastal China. This part is Tibet. This part is Xinjiang. यहाँ पर Mongol है. ये central, okay, China है. So this part of China has more people, and this is where we have more of a population called as Han population. They are the more politically dominant, more affluent. They are the ones who have more authority over the entire system. So this part of China has more people. Like the Shanghai as a city is here. ये Shanghai है. Beijing city somewhere यहाँ पर है. यहाँ पर नीचे a city called as Guangzhou है. There are islands here, Hong Kong and Macau Islands. So this arc is the main population arc of China. Okay, the eastern part of China. Okay, Manchuria alag hai. Manchuria is another part. Manchuria is a cultural region. In fact, they don't want to call themselves as Chinese. Okay, इनका अलग ही culture है. Okay, fine. ठीक है? So these specifics add value in answers. So Eastern China, I do the diagram. Honshu Island, I mentioned this. Now come towards South Asia. So I'm discussing South Asia with all of you. South Asia is largely rural. South Asia has higher poverty. And South Asia में the main population का जो belt है, that is the northern plains, which is the Indus, Ganga, and the Brahmaputra plains. This is the main center of the population fulcrum. The belt is the northern plains of India, starting from Pakistan right up to Bangladesh. Okay? And unlike I said the parts of East Asia, this part has a rural base. It has rural base, and this region has two cultural hearth. One is the Indus Valley civilization as a base. The second is the Gangetic plains. Plains. The Ganga plains. The Ganga plains happened later on. Later Vedic onwards, this becomes more important. Okay, and this is the Indus Valley civilization. The history goes back to 3,000, 4,000 years. And this has relatively more recent history. Okay. Now, in this part, we have some of the fastest growing population regions. Bangladesh is among the very fast growing regions of the world. One of the fastest population growing regions. Plus, this area also has very high levels of traditional society. One reason why this area has higher growth rates. Okay, high levels of traditional society where there is agriculture base, there is rural base, there is a strong patriarchy. Patriarchy to China, Japan में भी है, but China, Japan, the cultures has now become more urbanized. The cultures have become more urban, non-agriculture base. But these areas have agriculture, rural, and patriarchy is one big reason why this area has a high population size. Okay, so that's the second region. The third area of primary pocket जो है, it is northeastern US. We also call these as the New England states. The northeastern US. It's called as the New England state. Okay. This region has approximately 5 to 7% of the world's population. Pura US, Anglo America has about 12%. This area alone has 5-7% population, and this area is again urbanized. This area has very high levels of development. Okay, this area has more migrants. This is part of what we call as the New World. New World का मतलब है not very old civilizations नहीं है. This was discovered much later. People from Europe have come in, people from France, from Germany, from Ireland, from India, the New England states. Okay, if you know some names of the regions here, New York, we have Philadelphia, we have Delaware, we have Maryland, okay, Connecticut, some Rhodes Island, yes. So what are the states of US? Which are New England states. Okay, so New York, Philadelphia, Delaware. No, Miami resides बहुत नीचे. Like this is Florida. ये Florida है. Florida में है Miami. I'm talking about this part of US, northeastern part. New England because the people here, they came from Britain and they call this as New England. Okay, yeah. So that's a couple of names, migrants. And the next region is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, again, about 20% of the world's population, which is Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines. Okay, Southeast Asia is again 20%, pretty large population. It includes, as I said, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. Now, traditionally, these have been rural, but they are rapidly urbanizing. They are rapidly urbanizing. So this area also has a very traditional society, but it is rapidly changing. In fact, from 1980s onwards, these areas were witness to the economic miracle. The economic growth was very rapid here. Okay? No, Piyush, that's a wrong technique. You don't add up the numbers. Hamesha numbers are always approximated. Don't add up and say 100 ho gaya ya nahi hua. Okay, you always remember the round numbers. Okay, around 1/4, around 1/3, around 1/10. Keep it like, don't add up and say कि 75 हो गया. Okay, that's not how we study. ठीक है? Okay, so that's Southeast Asia. And the fifth region, if you look at India, India is not 25%. India is essentially 17%. We keep round numbers there. Okay. The fifth region is Western Europe. The fifth is Western Europe. So Western Europe, this is again part of the old world. Old world. So it is Britain, it is France, it is Germany. Okay, these are the old worlds. And this area has again very high levels of urbanization. Okay, these are again have a very old history, older than North America in some ways. It has old history, but again very high levels of development and very high density of population, unlike Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe mein the density is much lesser. When I say high or low, you must know what am I comparing with. It has higher density, it has higher urbanization, old history, more development. So this area, it resembles the northeastern US. It resembles the northeastern US in terms of population, okay, size and development. So these five are the main population pockets of the world, okay, where we have more and we have seen the population distribution is a mix. Some urban areas have more population, some rural areas have more population. In some places, the population is because of migration. In some places, the population is because of old civilizations and a long history. In some places, it's because of migrations. Okay, so all type of examples we have. They are the five primary pockets of population concentration. Okay. Now, the second one, what are the secondary pockets? What are the secondary pockets of population? Secondary means they are smaller, okay, and secondary pockets have relatively a higher concentration, okay, around a city or along a river. It is not a very large region. So when I say primary pockets, imagine this is the US. ये US है. When I say primary pocket, I mean entire region एक है. The region of northeastern US. When I say secondary pockets, ये पूरा region नहीं है. Like think of Mexico City. Like think of Sao Paulo for South America. Okay. So these are relatively higher concentration, but they are not large rivers, they are not large regions, they are around a city or along a river. So we call such pockets as knots and strings बोलते हैं. Knots का मतलब है one place where we have lot of people. Okay. Strings as in an elongated stretch of population. So these are relatively higher concentrations of population around a city or along a river. The population distribution is in the form of knots and strings. Knots, these are more localized. Strings as in elongated ones. Example of this is the population along river Nile, the population along St. Lawrence River, the population along river Volga, okay, the population around the city of Mexico City, the population around the city of Sao Paulo, population around Johannesburg. Okay. Johannesburg is a city in South Africa. Okay. No, Hooghly, Shivam is part of Northern Plains. No, उसको अलग थोड़ी मानते हैं. When I say this, I mean all otherwise not much people, but in this place lot of people. Not much people, along the river more people. Egypt पूरा खाली है. But 95% of Egypt's population lives along river Nile. Okay, within 50 kilometers of river Nile, you have got 95% of the population of Egypt. Okay, so Hooghly is part of the northern plains itself. Okay, no, India में ऐसे knots नहीं है. Okay, so we have एक example लिखो आप, river Nile, river St. Lawrence, river Nile, the country is Egypt. St. Lawrence River is the river of Canada. Volga is the river of Russia. Mexico City in Mexico. Sao Paulo in Brazil. And Johannesburg. Yes, for that matter, in Australia it is Sydney. It is Canberra and up to Melbourne. This is one stretch, Melbourne south tak. If this is Australia like this, okay, this is Sydney, वहीं पास में Canberra है और यहाँ पर Melbourne है. So this arc has the concentration. Oh yes, this arc, यही part is almost more than 80% of entire Australia's population. उसके बाद some couple of cities here. You can add this Sydney, Canberra. I hope you all know the capital of Australia is Canberra, not Sydney. Sydney is the larger one. Yeah, Sydney, Wollongong, correct. Sydney, Wollongong is one area. Canberra and right up to Melbourne. Yeah, cities are the knots, the rivers are the strings. Knots का मतलब क्या? गांठ, एक जगह फंसा हुआ है. Okay. So these are some examples of secondary population pockets of the world. Okay. Now you realize this. Now in this case, the discussion point here is that the knots and the strings are typical of localized advantages. They are typical of localized advantages. There is either a port as an advantage, an oasis as an advantage, or examples of localized advantages in an area that otherwise does not have enough conditions conducive for population. These are localized advantages in an area where otherwise that area does not have much of favorable conditions for population. Enough of conducive conditions. Conducive का मतलब है favorable. Enough of conducive conditions for population. Like think of Brazil. Okay, Brazil is all Amazon forests. Okay, dry regions, wet regions, and the bulk of the people live in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo alone has more than 80% of the Brazil's economy. Industries, ports, agriculture, processing, a huge amount of population here. Okay, so Mexico City, pura Mexico desert hai. And Mexico City is one center where we have bulk of the population. Russia, Siberia, not much of population, but that river Volga, okay, wahan par you have lot of people there. So knots and strings are localized advantages. Like I will not call northern plains of India as localized, because काफी बड़ा region है. Starting from Pakistan to Bangladesh, it's a pretty broad. Localized एक city नहीं है, ठीक है? So they are localized populations where otherwise or region में there is not much conditions for development and population, ठीक है? Knots and strings. And third, of course, I talked about the tertiary pockets. The tertiary pockets are scattered, and most of these areas will have a very sparse population. Nothing much to add here. They are scattered locations, and most of these will not have too much of population. They will have sparse populations. ठीक है? Yes, अभी आशीष Middle East में भी examples हैं, but compared to the world, the Middle East does not have too much of people. Okay, it's largely deserts, highly restrictive laws for migrations. So Middle East does not have so many people. Okay, fine. So I'm done with this comparison. Now, one discussion on the next page you can take. How do we measure distribution? How do we measure distribution? ठीक है? Now distribution के अलग-अलग measures हैं. One common measure is the measure of density. One common measure is the measure of density. Density is what? It is the population per unit area. Any density is what? Okay, it's a measure of population per unit area. Now the density can be what is commonly referred to as arithmetic density. Arithmetic density, which is total population by total area of a country or a district or a state. We call this as the arithmetic density. Total population divided by total area. This is the most common measure. सबसे आसान है, most common measure. Okay, and for India, it is approximately 450. For India, it is approximately about 450 people per square kilometer. Okay, it varies. On average, okay, we have this arithmetic density. इसका एक variant है. It's called as physiological density. Some call this as also as the nutritional density. The physiological density also called as nutritional density. This is the total population divided by the total agricultural land. Total population by total agricultural land. Now, this measure is more a measure of, it is a measure of a region's agricultural ability to support population. It's a measure of a region's agricultural ability to support population. So I'm talking about, this is a measure of the population pressure in terms of the food availability, or in terms of agricultural resources. This is a measure of the population pressure in terms of the food availability, in terms of agricultural resources. कि एरिया में agriculture के basis पे how many people can live there is agricultural basis. But we say this measure is today increasingly less relevant. Okay, today this measure is increasingly less relevant. Because okay, agricultural resources are no longer the main resources of a region. The agricultural resources are no longer the main resources of a region. Okay, so we can have places जहां पर agriculture बहुत कम है, yet those areas can have lot of population. Think of Japan. Okay, Japan can have very, very high physiological density because बहुत कम agricultural land है. Okay, write down. Today when development is more diversified, today when development is more diversified and there are more prospects of agriculture trade. Development is more diversified, there are more prospects for agriculture trade. Okay, physiological density is no longer a very important parameter, for studying population pressure. ठीक है, तो जब economies were more dependent on agriculture, then this made sense. But today it makes no sense. Cities like Singapore, cities like Mexico City, cities like London, countries like Switzerland, countries like Egypt, ऐसे countries में तो सोचो आप agricultural land है ही नहीं. Okay, it's almost like this is equivalent to few acres and this can be 20, 30, 40,000 population. Look at Singapore. Okay, so this is of no consequence today. The economy has more diversified, अब बहुत फैल गया है. Trade economy, urban economy, industrial economy, service economy. Now to talk only in terms of agriculture land is no longer a wise comparison. Yeah, even for some of the islands of the Pacific, you're right. उनका economy आता है from fishing. It comes from tourism. Okay, that's one discussion here. एक third measure है. It's called as agricultural density. This is the population of farmers divided by the agricultural land. Population of farmers divided by agricultural land. Now this is again more relevant where we have agriculture economy. कि बताने के लिए कि can the farmers sustain the economy or not. Think of more farmers, less land. There's a tremendous amount of pressure then. So this measure again is more significant for agriculture economies. Again, this is not used as commonly anymore. Just know the names. Okay. Achha, now the density measures are more appropriate. The density measures are more appropriate for knowing the pressure on the land. For knowing the pressure on the land. भाई कितना land है, कितने लोग रहते हैं. But it does not tell us much about. They are more important to know the pressure on the land, but it does not tell us much about how the population is distributed across the region. How the population is distributed across the region. So what I mean by this is, imagine a large country, a city called as A, a city called as B, a city called as C, and maybe there are 1,000 cities. Okay? A probably has 100 people, B probably has 200 people, 3 can have maybe 300 people, and all other places probably have 1 person, 2 person, 10 people, 1 person. Okay? So when I say density, what I do is I add up all of this and divide by area. Okay? That does not tell us कि यहाँ ज़्यादा लोग हैं, यहाँ पर कम लोग हैं. If I look at density, density क्या है? Measure of population divided by the total area. So when I add up the population by area, I just know on average this area probably has 10 people per unit area, for example. It does not tell us कि लोग कहाँ रहते हैं ज़्यादा. Okay, it is uniformly distributed assumption है. And if I must compare, then I must have the list of every city. So you make a list. Okay, I must have a list here. City 1, density, city 2, density, city 3, density. And then I can say, if I make a list of all, then I'll say, okay, यहाँ ज़्यादा लोग हैं और यहाँ पर ज़्यादा लोग हैं. I hope you got the point here. So when I calculate density, I know the average, how they are spread. It does not tell us which of them has more people and which of them has less people. Like say, India's average density is 400 people per square kilometer. It does not tell us north-south divide kya hai. It doesn't tell us whether we have more people on the plains or more people on the hills. It does not tell us that the 4 mega cities of India, okay, have the bulk of the urban population of India. वो बताता नहीं हमें. I just know on average, India में 400 per square kilometer. If I go to Singapore, it is 10,000 per square kilometer. I have no idea how the population is distributed. Okay, so we have another measure called as concentration index. We have concentration index. Okay, now this tells us how population is distributed for an entire region. how population is distributed for an entire region. So what this does is, say this is a large region and these are the districts of the region. So what this does is, it is the ratio of the population in a district divided by the total people of the district. Say there are 10 people here, 100 people here, maybe 50 people here, say 1,000 people here, sab mila ke maybe 10,000 people. So for this area, it is 10 by 10,000. For this place, it is 1,000 by 10,000. So I know this place has approximately 10%. This has probably 0.01%. I hope you got the point here. So concentration index is, okay, write down, defined as, it is the population of a district. Population of district, generally we measure this in comparison for a district. It's population of district divided by the total population of a state. Total population of a state. I can have different type of measures here. I can also say population of a state divided by total of the country. I can say population of a city divided by population of all the cities. वो भी हम कर सकते हैं. It's up to me. So I can always vary कि ratio में क्या रहेगा. Okay. The commonly measure is that the numerator has the district's population divided by the state's population. It's a ratio then. Then I know this place has 10% of the entire state's population. Is it okay, all of you? Say UP's population, say approximately 200 million divided by pura India's population 1.4 billion. Then I get a ratio. So compare this with Maharashtra. What is its population divided by India's total population? So this tells us which region has relatively more people in terms of percentage than another. So concentration index is more commonly used to study distribution, whereas density is more commonly used for understanding the pressure on the land. Okay, in this land, okay, what is the amount of people here? So if you want to know the pressure on the land, the better measure is density. All good here? Okay. So with this, I have taken care of population distribution. These are the 4 themes you should know. Population distribution. One is know the factors. Number 2, know the regions in 2-3 different ways. Okay. And number 3, know the measures. Okay, factors, physical factors, human factors, the pattern in terms of hemisphere, latitude, continents, regions, you can go on there. And third is the study of the measure. Yeah, all of you can spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes, turn the page and see if you want to ask me something on this, all of you. Yes, the notes are almost in a form of an answer, but straight answers नहीं पूछते हैं. I'll come to that afterwards. So any doubts you have, any questions you have, please ask me. Yes, Jayant, we can do that. Yes, there are many more examples you can take up. Vedant, you can take if you want to take up, no problem. I just took up some examples. There can be hundreds of examples. Fine, you can take up example for strings as the Mesopotamia region or the Euphrates-Tigris belt. You can do that. That's your choice. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah? नो, गंगा प्लेन स्ट्रिंग नहीं है, काफी रीजन है. कौन सा? भाई रिवर है तो ये तो है, ठीक है, बट बहुत सारे पॉपुलेशन यहां पर भी हैं, तो ये स्ट्रिंग नहीं है, ये पूरा एक रीजन है, एक बेल्ट है. ओके, जहां पर कि ये नॉर्थ साउथ बेल्ट अप्रोक्सीमेटली 300 किलोमीटर का बेल्ट है. ओके, ऑन दिस साइड इट्स प्रोबेबली अराउंड 150 किलोमीटर्स का बेल्ट है. सो गंगा इज नॉट अ स्ट्रिंग. स्ट्रिंग का मतलब क्या है? I have people here and I have almost no people here. इजिप्ट में within 50 kilometers, okay, it's all over, उसके बाद desert ही desert है. Okay, string दिखना भी चाहिए like a string, right? That's the point. So Ganga is part of a primary region of the world, not a string. Okay. Yes. The smaller cities, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, plus the least population region of the world. Tertiary मतलब क्या? Third level में. Okay, third level में all the smaller towns, cities and the open areas. If it is substantial, Nikita, if the population is substantial along a highway, okay, it can be a string. So in settlement geography, we will study a concept called as conurbations. So she's asking me, sir, can we consider the population along a highway as a string? Yes, you can. Okay, so a concept hai called as conurbations. Conurbation, short form of continuous urbanization. So think of Delhi. Okay, we have Jaipur. We have Udaipur, we have Surat, Mumbai. This becomes a kind of a conurbation in development. Or you have Delhi, we have Lucknow, Kanpur, Varanasi, Patna, okay, Kolkata. This now can become like a string. So I gave an example, no? In Japan, we have Taiheiyo conurbation. Taiheiyo conurbation includes Tokyo, it includes Kobe, it includes Nagoya, it includes Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima. ये पूरा बेल्ट ताइहेयो conurbation has more than 80 million population. It's like a string. ठीक है? Okay. Okay, let's move on then. I believe no other doubts here. Are you all able to keep pace with me? Online, offline? Those who can keep pace, raise your hand, please. Okay. Those who can't keep pace, now raise your hand. Yes, you can't keep pace. The solution is, I will not slow down, you will become faster. Okay. Yes, you can keep pace. Those who are beginning the process of a study, okay, these are some of the skills you must learn. You have to write fast. And some of you will eventually understand, you can also go faster than this. Okay, normal छोड़ो आपको, you know, in the exam paper of 3 hours, any idea how many words you must write down? कितना words होता है लिखने के लिए? How many words in 3 hours? Maximum 3,000 words. You cross this, it'll become gibberish. It cannot be less than 2,500 words in 3 hours. So even if I'm generous, okay, I'm looking at approximately around 800 to 1000 words per hour. Okay, and do your calculation कि 1 minute में कितना लिखना पड़ेगा. And remember, you're also drawing, you're also thinking. Okay, you'll also, rewrite some of the paragraphs. So you have to build up the speed. So while I am sympathetic to your problem, but I cannot accommodate it. Okay, so I hear your problem, but the fight is you have to learn to write faster. अगर मिस होता है, raise your hand. I will definitely repeat if required. Because I can become more faster, that's why I write on the board. When I'm writing, I know ki kya pace I must keep approximately. Yeah, Vedant. So the whole discussion is, some of you have joined us new, okay, and many of you are still beginning. No worries. Don't get frustrated. Be with us. Trust me, it's a matter of 1 week, 10 days. You'll get used to how to write fast. No worries. So don't give up. That's the whole idea. Okay. I'll again ask after 1 week, and then we'll see if you have learned something or not. Okay. I'll try going slower now. Okay. Now, if I ask a question to you, write a question, please. Write a question. Study of population distribution. Study of population distribution can be a good way of analyzing, the historical, good way of analyzing the historical factors and development trends of a region or a country. Study of population distribution, okay, can be a good basis for study of historical factors or developmental trends of a country or a region. Discuss. Or I can add the word comment. Okay. So one question is a straight question. Write a note on the population distribution pattern of the world. एक और question होगा. Okay. Write a note on the factors impacting how population is distributed for the world. Okay, I can ask a question directly. A pattern पे लिखो या फिर लिखो factors पे. But this question अलग type of question है. Looking at the distribution, can we comment on the history of a place? Can we comment on development of a place? Yes or no? And tell me how. If yes, tell me no. Where? With examples. पहले बताओ, can distribution tell us about a history of a place? Yes. Okay, yes. But what are the other elements I need to know to talk about the history of a place? बताओ. Looking at population distribution. Population distribution है. It can tell me about the history of a place. Answer is yes, it can. But can it tell the entire history? No. Which means you must know something else also to talk about the history of a place. Okay? What are the other things? Yes, monuments. Other things can be in terms of population composition, history of a place. Yes, in terms of language people speak. Okay? So we need some discussions here. वैसे distribution can tell us about development also. Okay. Just by looking at ज़्यादा लोग हैं या कम लोग हैं, can I comment on the development of a place? Yes, अगर वो urban area है तो, but not always. So we want some discussions here. See, this writing I will teach afterwards, but I just want to know that the questions are not always asked directly. सबसे आसान question होगा, okay, comment on the patterns of distribution. और another question is comment on the factors of distribution. ये समझ में आता है. Okay, but this is a different type of a question. एक और question लिखो. एक और question. Keeping in mind the factors that impact, keeping in mind the factors that impact population distribution. Keeping in mind the factors that impact population distribution. Comment on how population distribution can change. How population distribution can change in the future. Can change in the future. Can you think on this question once and tell me if it makes sense or not? You tell me what are the factors which can change distribution of a place, of population. Okay, disasters, migrations, what else? Conflicts, wars, what else? Change in resources, perfect. Can you be a bit more specific when you say disasters? Tell me a specific one. Sea level rise. Change of resource. Okay, maybe alternate methods of farming. Okay, floods and droughts, yes. When you say conflicts, you can talk about wars in Middle East, Eastern Europe. I hope you got the point here. So now looking at all of this, tell us, in the future, how will it change? How may? You must tell us examples specifically. Which area will lose people? Which area will gain people? Absolutely correct. Factors also includes policies. जैसे कि countries can change their migration laws. Okay, some countries can invite more population and some countries can block the borders. Absolutely correct. So you must pick up some of these factors and then tell us and give me with examples and with current trends. Then more and more European resistance hoga to migrations. Okay. Example why? Because India is still struggling for labor laws and FTAs with UK. Sea level rise can impact coastal states, coastal cities. More and more climate change, droughts, floods can force people out of rural areas. Okay. When there is economic slowdown, people will move out of those areas again, correct? Yes, pandemic also. Absolutely. Population growth rates in some area, okay, the growth rates will fall down dramatically. Those areas will eventually have less people. Like think of Africa. Think of Africa. Africa may currently we have about 15 to 17% of the world's population. Okay. And Africa has very high birth rates. Africa has very high Okay, children per women is approximately more than 3. In countries like Nigeria and Sudan, it can be more than 4, 4.5. It's very, very high. But Africa mein, the death rate is also very high. Right? So more people are born and more die. Death rate because of conflicts, because of famines, because of epidemics. लोग बच्चे मरते भी यहाँ पर हैं ज़्यादा. So ultimately, this 15-17 has been maintained. But think of a condition where, okay, the death rate starts falling, which we must be optimistic. कभी न कभी, okay, poverty will get controlled. I am sure optimistic. Conflicts will get controlled. Optimistic. We'll have medications also. Okay, the death rate will fall. Birth rate fall will take time. Why? Because birth rate depends on factors related to cultural practices. Patriarchy, desire for a boy child, lack of education. Okay, so all that decides, literacy, that decides birth rate. So when the death rate falls and the birth rate is high, इसको क्या होने वाला है? It will increase. So Africa will end up having far more people than it currently has. So we want some discussions there. Think of Europe. In Europe, I said right now less than 10, it can fall further to 5 and 7%. Why? Because Europe में 3 problem है. One is Europe has very low birth rates. Okay. Number 2, in Europe, migrations भी बहुत कम है. Europe, like US or Australia, does not encourage in migration. Okay, they are far more restrictive societies. तो उनके अपने birth rates कम हैं and the migrations are less. And okay, there is lot of old population who will die. Right? So these 3 together में क्या होने वाला है? Their proportion will decline. So don't just tell me more or less, tell me where. Absolutely. This is a problem of all the highly developed urbanized pockets of the world. Denmark में, okay, Norway, Sweden, Britain, Japan, okay, Koreas, और यही problem China में भी होने वाला है. Right? So that's how we discuss. So your question demands some understanding of how things operate. See, not everything I will dictate to you. अगर हम पढ़ा रहे हैं and I am writing here, I expect कि आप note भी कर रहे होगे side में कुछ ना कुछ. If I don't discuss this, you will not even know this question exists. And I don't have the time to give the entire answer to you. But I'll add on wherever possible. ठीक है? So example दिया, तो वैसे examples चाहिए. Okay, what will happen? And yes, this is where the case studies will come in. Example of regions of the world where there is declining population. Okay. China mein it's a big issue. Okay. Chinese population will decline. Chinese population will have problems of economic sustainability. So I'll come back again when discuss growth, of course. But for now, you understand this. Yes, जो France में, the problems they have had, one big reason was they increased the retirement age. Why? Because they have labor shortages. Fine. ठीक है. So I hope you got the question, all of you now. Go back and think, and whatever you can try, you can try. Take up a fresh page. The next topic is population growth. Population growth. Okay. Fine. Some of you know a bit of this, others you do not know. Dekho. This is the holy triangle of your knowledge understanding. One is the information and the knowledge that you have. Okay? Say, you know, Africa is a continent, India is a large country, Japan is on the east, Shanghai is in China, Mexico City is an oasis, Riyadh is the capital. Okay, the states which make up New England states, Asia has 60%. ठीक है, ये सब information and knowledge है जो मैंने आपको पढ़ा दिया, बुक्स में है. There's another idea, there's another component called as ideas and thought. Okay, so what I discussed for Africa was a thinking. The thinking that अच्छा आगे क्या होने वाला है, what will happen there. Okay, I know some facts and I'm applying some logic there. Ideas and thought come from analysis. They come from a deep understanding. Why am I saying Africa's population will expand dramatically? Why am I saying China can have a concern? This comes from reading and studying opinions. This comes from cramming information. एक पन्ने में मैंने facts लिखा दिया. Okay, जरा मार लो. Say, you know about India's cultural diversity? Yes, dance है, drama है, sculptures हैं, temples हैं, the cuisine. Give me some names. Sir, Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Nagara art, Dravidian art, folk art, paintings, and so on. I gave a list to you. Bharatanatyam theme is X, Kuchipudi theme is Y, examples of Nagara art ABC, examples of textile handlooms XYZ. ये facts हो गया. But look at this question. One question can be, what are the dance forms of India? The following dance form match the following. What are the themes? ये लिख लिया आपने. But if I ask a question like, do the art forms, in particular the dance forms, reflect the cultural identities in different part of India? Explain with examples. ठीक है? Do the dance forms reflect the cultural identities in different parts of India? So what cultural identity does Kathakali give us? What elements of identity does Kathak dance give us? What are the cultural elements of Bharatanatyam and how are they different? Okay. So when you talk about that, then you are moving towards this. And a third component is action oriented. Now that I know this and know this, what should I do? Now that you know, China has a problem already. Okay, Germany, Japan में problem हो रहा है severe. What should India do? बताओ. What should be India's population policy? Okay. Now that you know, dance, drama, literature represents cultural diversity of India, what should be India's cultural policies? What can this do to maybe a regional identity? Discuss that. That's about actions. Okay. The questions are more here and here, less and less here. You have to know this, but you must move towards this. Okay? So you'll all get hang of it slowly, gradually. This is typically what we call as L1 questions, L2 questions, L3 questions. L1 questions generally होते हैं straight questions, not much thinking required. L1 questions are directly in the notes, directly in the books that you have read. L3 questions are the thinking questions. ये बना बनाया मिलेगा नहीं आपको, आपको सोचना पड़ेगा. You have to think about it. Okay, and in between a transition type L2, which is a bit more difficult than this, but maybe not difficult as this. Okay, fine. Okay, so that was demonstrating what you should know. Let's move on. The next topic is population growth. Take a fresh page. So I've done one theme, distribution. The second theme is growth. Now, growth is what? It is essentially a measure of how a population adds up and expands. It's a measure of how a population of a region, it adds up and expands. When I say as expands, we can also talk about also including how populations may reduce to. In some areas, population can also reduce. अच्छा, ये जो growth है ना, it is a very important study and is related to many aspects of life and living. Okay, it's a very important study and is related to many aspects of life and living, because growth can reflect history, growth can reflect developmental levels, growth can reflect resource use and challenges, growth can reflect conflicts. Okay, so growth is a very important part of a study of a region. Okay, it is related to history of a place, it is related development, like you know, the size of population is also the labor of a place, correct? So population जो बोल रहे हैं, this is labor of a place, they work. Okay, the population is related to how resource is being used and what can be the challenge of the future. Think of food scarcity. If more people, less land, I can have problems of scarcity. And when there are scarcities, I can have conflicts. Okay, so you go back to very important discussion. The geography is the study of man, environment, relationship. How I use my land, how does environment control our development? का बहुत important component है the number of people who we are. If I've got more people, I must acquire more land. If I have more people, people will move into areas which are less occupied. If I've got more people, water scarcity, land scarcity, I can have conflicts. So population growth is a very important element of studying man-environment relationship. Okay? Okay. Now, next point here is, how do we measure growth? How is population growth measured? How is population growth measured? Okay, so quickly first, that our world has approximately 8 billion population. Our world has approximately 8 billion population. And there are variations in how population grows in different parts of the world. The variations in how population grows in different parts of the world. Many of the current challenges and some challenges of the future, many of the current challenges and some challenges of the future are directly related to our population size, and population growth. Okay. Therefore, a measure of growth rates, is an important basis of studying many aspects of population, development, okay, and political dynamics. Are you aware of one conflicts we are moving into? When the government of India eventually will have amendment to expand the Lok Sabha seats of the country. Yes? तब एक झगड़ा होने वाला major वाला. Right? Because of southern states having controlled population, less population. Northern states have more population. If I go by representative democracy, the northern states will have more seats. And the southern states will start complaining that they are getting left out. And they'll always complain that we are being penalized for controlling our numbers. Okay, and this problem becomes even more severe because if the ruling party has a clear north-south divide in terms of presence, agar ruling party ke zyada MPs are from northern India, what will they want? Okay, northern India to get more seats in the parliament. Is going to be a conflict waiting to happen. For a good amount of time, we had frozen the Lok Sabha seats. I hope you know this. The delimitation was frozen. हम नहीं change करेंगे अभी. Yes. So what I'm saying is, growth rates can also be the basis of conflicts and challenges. Correct. They can become the basis of a new type of a struggle. So growth rates are not simply numbers to remember, but to appreciate that the growth can impact many things. I would say China ka growth economic constraint is labor issues. They are a manufacturing economy. They are a labor intensive economy. And that's why China has reversed its one-child policy, right? For a long time they had compulsory policy of one child. And that one-child policy is now against their own interests. अब उन्हें change कर दिया उन्होंने. ठीक है? So this will decide economic growth. This will decide environmental issues. It will decide conflicts. So we need to measure growth, the trends, and what will be the possibilities of the future. The short paragraph, why we must study growth. Now what are the measures? The simplest measure is the measurement of crude birth and crude death rates. The crude birth rate is number of children born by total population expressed in terms of 1000. What is crude birth rate? It is number of children born per 1000 total population. Formula is number of children born by total population expressed in terms of 1000 population. ठीक है? It's a crude birth rate. वैसे ही, what is a crude death rate? It is the number of deaths divided by total population expressed in terms of 1000 population. Why do I use the word crude? Because it does not tell us the age group. Okay, this is death in what age group? Number of birth, what is the age group of mothers? नहीं बता रहे हैं. In general, it's possible in one society there are more old population and they are dying more. In some other society, there are more children and there is poverty. The children dying more. This will not tell us that difference. Okay, right down here. These measures, the crude birth rate and crude death rate, these measures do not give us more specific data. They do not give us more specific data with respect to age groups. With respect to the age groups. This is the simplest of the measures. This is the simplest of the measures. Next point. In general, CBR or CDR more than 30-35 per thousand. CBR or CDR more than 30-35 per person is considered very high. अगर birth rate भी more than 30 per thousand है और death rate भी more than 30 per thousand है, we consider this as very high. Okay, they are indicative of low levels of development. More than 30 अगर होता है, the indicatives of low levels of development. Head down. In general, the desirable number is less than 10 or 15. Less than 10 or 15. For India, the crude birth rate is 17, which is fine. It is less, but can be more less. And the crude death rate is 7. The crude birth rate is 17, whereas crude death rate is 7. 7 below hai. It's fine. The problem is India has very high child mortality or infantile mortality. Write down. The overall death rate of India is fine. The overall death rate of India is fine. इसलिए वो क्रूड है, एक बता देता है, एवरेज बता देता है. But in reality, India has very high IMR. India has very high IMR. What's IMR? Infantile mortality rate. India has very high IMR. Okay. What's IMR? IMR is number of infants dying per 1,000 live birth. IMR is infantile mortality rate. India has very high IMR. Infantile mortality rates. This is number of infants dying per 1,000 live birth. And who is an infant? Anything less than 1 year of age is an infant. So per 1,000 live birth, how many of them die within 1 year is called as IMR. India mein IMR is approximately 25-27 per 1,000 live birth hai. IMR in India is approximately 25-27 okay, per 1,000 live birth, which is high. Our objective is to keep it less than 10. Objective is to keep it less than 10. तो ये details जो हैं, the crude birth rate and crude death rate don't tell us. And that's why we say it is a crude number. It does not tell us the specifics. Okay? But it is a very convenient number to talk about. Second measure is the general fertility rates, GFR. The second measure is general fertility rate, GFR, which is the total number of live birth, per 1,000 women in the reproductive age span. Number of live birth, okay, per 1,000 women in the reproductive age span. The age in which a woman is capable of giving birth, that is from 15 to 49 years of age. This is called as the reproductive age span. It varies in societies, but this is considered most representative. Before this, the girl is not in her puberty, and after this, the woman enters the menopause phase. It's called as the reproductive age span bolte hain. Okay, so the general fertility rate is the number of live birth divided by women in the age group of 15 to 49, okay, expressed in terms of 1,000. Why live birth? Lot of children can be born, okay, still. We call those as stillbirth. The baby can die in the mother's womb itself. तो उसको count नहीं करते हम लोग. There are stillbirths. They can also be miscarriages. Okay, so we don't add that. We talk about a birth. The child is not, okay, having, is not still, is not dead. The live birth. Yes, correct. We find only the live birth and divide by women in this age span. Okay, so this is better than the crude birth rate. Crude में क्या था? Remember, it was total population, right? This was the total population. Total population. Now I've come down to number of women and in that age group. Okay. Next one is, एक और measure है. It's called as ASFR, age specific fertility rates. It's called as age specific fertility rates. Number of live birth for a specific age of the women population. For a specific age of women population. देखो, number of live birth per specific age of women population expressed in terms of 1,000 again. ये 1,000 number हमेशा रहता है. Okay, so it is live birth divided by women in a specific age group expressed in terms of 1,000 population. Now, one point I want to discuss here, देखो, the birth and the population growth rate, it has lot of connection with the status of women. Both related hai. Okay, so there can be two countries where the birth rates may be same, okay, but the number of women can be different. Say arbitrary number, okay, say I have got 10 live birth and the number of women who are in the age span of reproduction is say 1,000. In another case, okay, there are 10 live birth, but the number of women in that span is probably 500. So who do you think is more developed? The first one or second one? The first one. This tells us the number of children per woman is less. This tells me the number of children per woman is more. And generally, when the number of children is more, this is typically representative of a traditional society, a rural society, lack of women education, lack of women rights, lot of patriarchy generally hota hai. Okay, women are typically meant for only household chores, a family, taking care of children. Okay, that's what they're meant for. Okay, so I'm saying there are reasons why we link the birth rate with the women's status. Okay, women's status is a very important measure of ultimately what a society will become. Ultimately, what a society will transit into. That's why we say crude birth rate doesn't tell us much. A better is GFR and even better is ASFR. So in ASFR, what we do is we identify the following groups of women. 15 to 19 years of age, 20, 24 years of age, 25, 29 years, okay, 30, 34 years, 35 and 39 years, 40, 44 years, 45, 49 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 age groups in which we study. Yes, Jayant? Okay, looking at this, we can talk about child marriage, women labor force, who actually are working, the age of marriage. Yes, we have a special document called as NFHS, National Family and Health Survey of India. Yes, right now, okay, this is the most important source of some of these health parameters. Okay? So in ASFR, we consider these 7 sets of age. So ASFR for 15 to 19 is number of live birth in that age group divided by number of women in the age group 15 to 19. Compare this with ASFR, okay, from 2024, the number of live birth in 2024 divided by number of women in 2024. So this can tell us the health issues of women and the empowerment of the women. Okay? Run this point here, that ASFR is a more specific measure. ASFR is a more specific measure that reflects on okay, marriage patterns, that reflects on marriage patterns, education of the mother, marriage patterns, education of the mother, financial independence of the mother, financial independence of the mother, and in general, the status of women in a society. In general, the status of women in a society. आप सोच देखें ना, if a woman becomes a mother in this age group, का मतलब क्या है? No education here. This is almost a child marriage. Okay, the girl should have been in schools. If not a child marriage, at least there's no higher education here. Okay, this is a statement. And generally, the women who marry and have children in this age group, matlab kya hai? They are financially more independent. Okay, they probably have high levels of education and accordingly some other issues. Okay? So this is a very good measure of what we should do in terms of health aspects. In fact, remember this, IMR IMR, it is not IMR is what? Infantile mortality rates. IMR is not simply a status on the health of the child. IMR is a statement on the mother's health also. Dekho, biologically, there are survival aspects of our species. Generally, a mother and child biologically have capability to survive. Okay, they can fight against odds, whatever. If a child is dying, it's actually an extreme health issue. Okay, either because of delivery problems or because of mother's malnutrition is a very common reason. And third is neglect of the girl child. In IMR, you'll find the girl children are actually dying more. So IMR is not simply a statement on the health issue, it's a statement on the social aspect also. A child dying ka matlab hai definitely mother is not healthy enough. A child dying means that region mein health amenities nahi hai. A child dying could also imply, and if the girl is dying more, it tells us about the patriarchal system and discrimination. So this I can find out from this data also. High IMR invariably will mean these numbers are higher in terms of live birth rate. So we are looking at population trends, not simply in trends of how they are growing. We are seeing trends in terms of social issues also. Okay, what are the priorities in terms of social development in the future? Okay, around this point here, that age specific birth rates, are a very important measure of social conditions of women in a society. Social conditions of women in a society. Okay. Understanding the age-specific birth rate, is an important step towards social development priorities. Is a step towards social development priorities in a society. Yes, Swagat, you are right. These topics are important for GS paper 2. एक टॉपिक आपका है वहां पर सोशल इनइक्वालिटीज, सारा यूज करना है, पूरा पॉपुलेशन इज देयर एंड नोबडी विल टीच यू दिस इन डिटेल इन जीएस आइदर. ये ज्योग्राफी में ही आप पढ़ेंगे. पॉपुलेशन, ग्रोथ रेट्स, सेक्स रेशियो, लिटरेसी रेट्स, ओके, सारा का रूट्स यहीं पर है. ओके, प्लीज यूज इट. ओके, पेपर 1 is more the cultural aspect in terms of diversity. The problems of population are in GS paper 2. Okay? Anyways, and it gets links to governance also eventually. Okay. So that's about the significance of ASFR. Okay, let's move on. Now this is a very, very important parameter, TFR. So the fourth one is the TFR. The total fertility rates. The total fertility rates. Okay. Now, इसमें बहुत confusion है. Pay attention, I'll explain it to you. And this is perhaps one of the most important measures. Okay. Now, don't write down. First, listen to me. TFR, very crudely mentioned, it is the number of children per woman. Okay. Which a woman will have. Have you got the point here? एक तो है, so there are 10 children and there are say there are 2 mothers. So I say there's 5 children per mother. Okay? This is what I have right now. Number of children per mother. TFR वो नहीं है. TFR is the number of children a woman will have. ये futuristic है. If the current trends of birth rates continue and if a woman survives the entire age of reproductive age span. Matlab, right now, say, I have got 15 girls who have entered, who are in, say 10 years of age. Okay. TFR tells me, in the future, if the current birth rate continues, and if none of the girl child dies before 49 years of age, tell us how many children each girl will have when she becomes a mother. Okay. So unlike crude birth rate, it's like, आपका marks कितना है बताओ? My marks are, okay, 10 out of, say, 15. Fine. इसमें कितना mark है? In some other subjects, sir, I've got 11 out of 15. Some other subject, I've got 13 out of 15. Some other subject, 8 out of whatever. ठीक है? Now I'm telling, looking at this pattern and assuming कि आप सारा paper देने वाले हो, if I give you a test right now of 100 questions, आपका score क्या होने वाला है? Okay, I'm predicting what will be the future trends. So one is the actual marks, और एक क्या है? Estimates. TFR is an estimate. TFR tells us how a society is changing in terms of its development social parameters. TFR, याद रखना, TFR is an estimate. TFR is type of an extrapolation. TFR is mathematically calculated. ये ग्राफ देख के आप करते हो calculate. That if the present growth patterns continue, right now, say the birth rate, the crude birth rate is say 25 per 1,000 total population. Today, the GFR is this. Okay, today, the women education is this one. Looking at this, tell me, in the future, for every woman, we have in the reproductive age span, how many children will she have? So this is a futuristic trend batata hai. It's a mathematical calculation. Is it okay, all of you here? Right? Right now, India's GDP is, say, 7%. Okay. Looking at the stock market, looking at our population size, labor size, looking at investments we are making road railways में, अब बताओ कि next 10 years में what will be India's average growth rate? So TFR is not an empirical calculation, it is an estimation. Is it okay, all of you here? This is a major mistake people make. Okay, India ka TFR 1.1 or 1.2 or 2.1, whatever. It is a trend that we have for the future, given some trends we have right now. Okay, write down. So TFR is the measure of, TFR is the measure of number of children a woman will have, number of children a woman will have if A, the current rate of fertility continues, if the current rate of fertility continues, and B, if the mother lives, if the mother lives for the full span of, if the mother lives for the full span of her reproductive, full span of her reproductive age. That is from 15 to 49 years of age. A mother lives complete cycle the trends continue, the number of children per woman. And further, TFR is considered as the most reliable basis of estimation. Is considered as the most reliable basis of estimation of future growth trends. Okay. Important क्यों है? Okay, watch this. Look at this. He is asking how does it change things? Imagine, let's talk in terms of, say, marks we get. Okay, say week one, I gave a test, and say you scored 20 out of 100. Then I gave a test in week 2, and say your score is, say, 40 out of 100. I gave a test in week 3, and your score is, say, 60 out of 100. Okay. Week 4, you are at 70 out of 100. Okay? This is person A. Another person B, week 1, maybe 55 out of 100. Week 2, 40 out of 100. Week 3, 65 out of 100. Week 4, 70 out of 100. A person C, week 1, maybe 80 out of 100. Week 2, 80 out of 100. Week 3, 65 out of 100. Week 4, 70 out of 100. So if I look at the week 4 alone, सबका same है. Okay. Now I have tell कि बताओ एक और टेस्ट देता हूं after 2 or 3 weeks. Who do you think will get more marks now? That's why I need this trend. I'm looking at trend कि यार इसका ना 20 बढ़ते चला जा रहा है. This guy probably can hit 80, 90, whatever. This guy बहुत erratic है. Okay, and this person is again almost stagnating types. I hope you got the point here. This is the marks you have got. Based on this trend, I am projecting कि अगर एक और टेस्ट होगा, what will you get? So TFR, so if I want a future projection, I need this mathematical calculation. I'll draw a graph. Okay, this is going like this. This probably is going like this. This was here and maybe like this. Okay, so looking at this, this looks like your graph. This is your trend and this is your trend. So TFR tells me that. It helps me predict better what will be the population in the coming years based on some trends. That's why TFR is the best measure to tell us how the society is changing in the future. Yes, it is. Demographics study is hardcore statistics. Numbers, deviation, averages, mode, median, the curve ka kya is hardcore statistics. Like this is mathematical studies. We have got the National Institution of Statistics who does this, CSO or NSSO, whatever. Is it okay, all of you here? All right, further, TFR is directly related to, the social status of women, comma, the cultural systems in a society, and the health priorities and health supporting infrastructure. Generally a TFR around 2 and less a TFR of around 2 or less is considered desirable. Is considered desirable, but it depends on the type of economy. It depends on the type of economy and the development priorities of a country. Development priorities of a country. Okay. So, I ask a question to you. Okay, tell me, what is good? High growth rate or low growth rates of population? What is good? High growth or low growth? Yes, it depends. Say, if you look at history, if you look at traditional societies, इनमें 3 issue था. The old societies were agrarian societies. इनका agriculture बहुत important था. The old societies, they require more labor force who would be part of soldiers and armies. And importantly, because of high levels of mortality, है ना, epidemics हो रहा है, the problems of conflicts हैं, there are famines, the life expectancy was very low. Okay, as less as 30, 40, 45. The society had very high death rates. In these conditions, it was nice if a woman had more children. More children means more farmers to work in the fields. More children means bigger armies, and armies were the measure of a empire's power. More children means I'll have more chance of a child surviving. Okay, if children are dying more, that's why parents, as a part of hedging the risk, let's have 4 children, let's have 5 children, so that at least 1 or 2 will survive when others have died. And it's very, see, the importance of human life is also in terms of our cultural continuity. Every family wants the lineage to run, right? Okay, so my children, their children, their children, this ensures that I am living through generations. Every family has that ambition somewhere. So without children, the generation terminates, right? That's why if I look at these conditions, high TFR is a good thing. और हमारे आशीर्वाद भी वैसे ही होते थे ना, फलो और फूलो. Okay. Now our grandparents and their parents, even our older parents में, there's a lot of nostalgia. हमारे दिनों में, my answer is, आपके दिनों में तो यार मर जाते थे लोग 30 साल की उम्र में. हमारे दिनों में तो कैंसर नहीं था, मैं नहीं था, आपको पता नहीं था. Okay. मर गया हुआ है, पेट दर्द हुआ एंड भगवान को प्यारा हो गया है. ठीक है. The fact is, back then, the lot of health issues. Okay. हमारे दिनों में सब कुछ प्योर था. प्योर था तो you are dying because of things you had no idea about. A common reason था माता चढ़ गई. Right? So now it's not that disease is more, now the awareness is more. Now I know कि भाई ये फ्लू है, ये कोरोना वाला है और ये लीवर खराब करके मर रहा है. Okay? पहले पता भी नहीं था. Okay? So fine. So if I have these conditions, the TFR more is good. But if I have other concerns of crowding, if I realize that I do not have enough resources that I must sustain with, then the TFR should be low. So increasingly today, we talk about low TFR, but doesn't mean low TFR in general is very good. Now China is talking about increasing TFR. Their TFR is less than 2, 1.3, 1.4 के रेंज में है, and they are short of labor force. और इंडियंस बैठे हुए हैं, जहां जहां कम होगा हम घुस जाएंगे वहां पर. Okay, and ultimately we have entered 10 Downing Street also. I told some of you, we are waiting for White House entry. एक व्हाइट हाउस में चाहिए, एक हमें चाइनीज पार्लियामेंट में चाहिए, बाकी तो हो ही जाएगा मैनेज. ठीक है. सो अदरवाइज your population will shrink, the society will die out. So there's no magic number as such, but if I look at the world's present day trends, we say TFR of 2 and less, 1.9, 1.8, 2.1, 2.2 is considered to be more desirable. But this is not a norm. Societies जहां पर TFR is more valued, we call the societies as pro-natalist societies. Natal means young children. Okay, natal as in the newborn child. Okay, this society may they value more children. They value large families. We call those as pro-natalist. And the fact is, every religion has been historically pro-natalist. The reason kya hai? The religions have the roots in the ancient times. And back then, we had some problems. So religious belief was, big family, God's blessing, let's have more children. Large empire, more soldiers required, let's have more children. The Roman Empire is pro-natalist. The Greek society is traditional, were pro-natalist. The Indian cultures have been pro-natalist. The West Asian cultures have also been pro-natalist. If you are orthodox conservatives, you are essentially living the old cultures, you will be pro-natalist. Okay, and today, China is pro-natalist. Today, Denmark and Norway are also pro-natalist. So they to give incentives to have more children. Okay, because the culture there over the years and decades has now learned to have no children. There's a problem for them. So TFR, the question I'm answering is TFR, okay, which is good? Is more TFR good or is less TFR good? I'm debating their consent. In general, we say, given our present trends, around 2 is good, but not always necessarily. Is it okay, all of you? Okay, write down 2 lines here. That a high or low TFR is not always good or bad in absolute terms. Is not always good or bad in absolute terms. Pro-natalist societies historically have supported higher TFRs. Pro-natalist societies historically have supported higher TFRs. Within bracket, okay. Traditional societies, orthodox communities have favored larger families. Either because of low life expectancy, or because of the nature of society, that may have been expansionist and agrarian, or because of the nature of a society that must have been expansionist or agrarian, and hence manpower intensive. However, next point. However, given the trends of population across the world today, across the world today, low TFR of around 2 and less is favorable for many of the advanced societies. Sorry, is favorable for many of the developing societies. Many of the developing societies who have, or those have, population growth problems and crowding. Those that have population growth problems and crowding. Whereas the more advanced societies are now increasingly desiring higher TFRs. The more advanced societies are increasingly desiring higher TFRs. I hope you got the debate, all of you. So more population and less population, it is a comparative thing. You cannot in general say bad is good, low is good or high is good. You must know the type of society a country is. Okay, fine. So that's for today's class. Yeah, now I'm starting off that pattern that we talked about. Yeah, it's 49, Indranil. It's 49, not 45. Okay. Now, I will want all of you, unless you have a class, to sit back for another half an hour, 45 minutes, and finish your synopsis work. Okay? So you could take a 5 minutes break or 10 minutes break, whatever, and be back, online and offline. Those who must leave, you can leave, but those who can stay back, stay back. Okay, I've told you I need to know some of you are working. Fine. So I'm keeping the link active, not switching off. Okay, take a break and come back. We'll finish off a synopsis work. And those who have the PSP class, you can join the class from 2:45 onwards, downstairs. Offline, online you can join if you have a PSP class. Yeah. Yes, that's the idea. You can finish synopsis now and you can submit on the online system. Yes, I will take the names of those who submit. No compulsion, your choice. If you are, you can be with us. So all those who will have PSP, you'll go downstairs at around 2:45. Others stay back. Okay, and we'll do something different now. Prasanna, read the notes once and tell me what you understand. By the time I've explained what is AFSR, what is GFR, and what is TFR, you should have understood by now the limitations of the rest. One. Number two, if you have understood concentration index, you would know what are the problems of density measures. Okay, go back and see what the note tells you. The New England states are the northeastern part of the US. Okay. Okay.